right, welcome everyone, and good morning. I hope you are enjoying the conference today. So I'm going to talk today about implementing workflows using Netflix Conductor. Is anyone familiar with Conductor? What is it? All right. With Netflix? Yeah, of course. So I'm going to tell you a little bit also about the story about this product. You'll see. So we're going to talk, of course, about workflows. I picked a kind of example that includes also how to use artificial intelligence inside a workflow. So it's going to be part of the demo as well. We're going to do a focus on orchestration and what it means, why we need it today. Spend a lot of time about on the demo itself, more than slides, and if we have time, of course, some Q&A. A little bit about who I am today. I started a long time ago as a COBOL developer on mainframe. Feel like a dinosaur when I say that. Did my military service in the French intelligence agency. As you can see at my accent, I'm French. Worked with the anti-terrorist group at the French intelligence agency, mostly on software. I didn't run behind them, but to help investigations on terrorists. And I worked for a lot of different software development tools. One was PowerSoft, a product called Power Builder, one of the leading client-server tool. And then I moved to Silverstream. Silverstream was one of the first Java application server. We were competing with Tenga, who became WebLogic, for those who heard that, I worked with this. And I decided to build my own product. So it was first a Portal framework that I sold like 6 years after, and decided to do another tool that was an open source composite application framework. Now everyone is talking about low code. That was exactly what it was. Sold the company as well, and joined another company called Symfony that you may have heard or used, secure collaboration platform. I directed there the developer relations team for about 6 years. And this is where I met FINOS. And Symfony was already a member. And actually, before it was called FINOS, it was Symfony software, open source software. And so I was participating to the FINOS board. And I was, and I still, I am a member of the technical oversight committee with a lot of very talented folks. We are helping FINOS, of course, to run the projects and sometimes help maintainers as well directly with their project. And since recently, I joined another company called Orkes, who have been created by the founder of Netflix Conductor when they were at Netflix, which is another open source tool that Netflix is contributing a lot on the open source. So it's not an open source project inside FINOS, but I'm really interested by the innovation networks, and I think that having multiple communities, open source communities, joining their efforts can be better than just working separately. So that's a little bit about myself. Let's jump into workflows. So this is the use case that we're going to explore today. We're going to put ourselves in the shoes of a trader who has his trader application with, of course, the portfolio, Symfony as well, so he can collaborate with some counterparts or the back office when the trade is done. I'm going to leave all the documentation to be made by the middle office and the back office. But what a trader does usually, he reads market news, so he can have insights about what about certain industry, where is the market, is there something hot, is there something at risk, And this is something that can be very time consuming. So the use case here is to have different workflows that are going to be, so one will be scheduled to introspect the news regularly. It can be once per day, it can be once per hour, get the news, and use a vector database. Is anyone familiar with the concept of vector databases? So use a vector database in order to index the content so that when the trader will query at one point some insight about a particular industry or a particular company, everything will be used by traditional models in context by what has been indexed in the vector database before. And the result will be sent as an alert into Symfony, so it will still be in his trader application, trading application, and he will see everything coming magically. In addition, if the content will get some ticker symbols or things like that, we're going to get automatically the prices from a pricing provider. All right? So we're going to see that with a product called Conductor, which is, so we used to say it has been built at Netflix and it's now maintained by Orkes, even though Netflix is still using it. When you open Netflix today and you go to your homepage, all the content that is provided is a sum of orchestrations made by Conductor. We are working very closely still with Netflix to the maintenance of this project. Of course, because we are a private company, we are bringing also some enterprise class features on top of that, like role-based access or things like that. In Conductor, applications are built with workflows, meaning like the demo you're going to see doesn't need any coding. Everything will be an orchestration of different tasks, and tasks are predefined tasks, so we are not going to do very customized things. Workflows can be used, it can be something like kind of complex with tasks, with switches in order to have conditions and execute task A or task B, can have a sequence of tasks or tasks in parallel that can be executed in parallel. Actually, I have a quiz for you on that. What would be your guess to execute a workflow by Conductor? How many tasks in parallel could be executed? And as an incentive, I have a swag for the one who will be the closest. This swag has been elected as the best swag at API Days in London and the QCon in San Francisco. So it's really something that you should have. What is it? That's the second part of the incentive. It's a reusable straw. So you have like one straw that is straight, another one that is curved, and the best part is the tool to clean it. Everything in the same bag. So what would be your guess? How many, this is not something we tried, this is actually one of our customers called us because they broke the cloud cluster before Conductor, running a certain number of tasks. What would be your guess for the number of parallel tasks executed here?
The number of workers, right? Like, so tasks are assigned to workers.
Yeah.
And then it
But
depends on how many tasks the worker can handle and execute.
yeah, so what would be your guess? How much did they execute it? Not a million.
I mean, up to its memory constraint, or maybe how many threads it has.
What are the bottlenecks?
What
are your bottlenecks here? And are they all executed
Well,
on the same machine?
Conductor itself is a distributed application, right? So there is no really bottleneck except the resources of the cloud cluster itself. And this has been executed on a very standard cluster, something that would cost you like $150 per month.
Are you running this like in Kubernetes, or are you running it just on
Yeah.
spot EC2 instances?
Inside Kubernetes, of course, yeah. So we have 1 million. Another one? It's funny, sometimes I have like 20 or 50. You started very high. 36,000. Another one?
Million.
As many as you want.
Million has been said.
110 times 5,000 is this Kubernetes number.
The result is 300,000 before it has been, the cloud has failed, actually, before Conductor. Which is pretty, in terms of course, it's the one occurrence of the workflow, right? It's not multiple workflows at the same time. Because this is, of course, millions.
But what caused the breakage? Like, what was the bottleneck that actually broke it?
Yes, it was the Kubernetes cluster. So I'm going to give, of course, I have more than one. So for the participants of this quiz, you have one. You're welcome. All right. So workflows can be also very interesting to manage failure and timeouts. I used to, hello, coming in. That is something that is important because usually when there is a failure, what are you going to do? You're going to look at the logs, right? But when you have a gigantic log to make sure from your application to which exactly part of your application the log is related, it's pretty complicated. So not only you can design the workflow visually, but when you look at the execution, you're going to see exactly which task has failed, and you can click and dig into in order to see the log that is associated to this task. A product like Conductor can really ease the integration challenge, especially for in the financial services industry. Why? Because, I mean, if you have like a sell side and a buy side, everything is logged, right? Everything needs to be whitelisted. And this is a process that is a little bit complicated to whitelist to a counterpart. So the good thing in Conductor is that all the tasks can be executed anywhere. So if there is a task that is for a workflow that is shared by your buy side and a sell side, if it is shared by the two, if there are one task that has to be executed by your sell side, it will be executed there. If there is a task that has to be executed on the buy side, it will be executed there as well. No need to whitelist. If there is Symfony in the middle of the workflow, who has like a secure infrastructure that requires to build and deploy bots on each side, it's very difficult for a fintech to come into the loop. Here, the fintech will also has some predefined task that could be executed on his side, and the results can go into Symfony, because Conductor will be able to have workers that will be attached to those bots. And this is a little bit the demo we're going to see a little bit in a few minutes. So we saw in the use case that we are going to do some retrieval augmented generation. Are you all familiar with this concept? So this is, as you know, LLM have a lot of limitations in AI. Why? Because there is a main principle called hallucinations. When you ask ChatGPT something, you don't know what will be the answer. You cannot really trust the answer because it is more on what he knows from what he learned than what he should know at this particular time. And this is where are the limitations and why it's very difficult to use artificial intelligence in a financial workflow. So in order to go beyond this limitation, there is a way to add data to LLM, to add a context to LLM, and this is what we call retrieval augmented generation. So it introduces some indexing of a content from a specific database called vector database that will be taken before the model is requested to be executed, and the context will be passed to that model for the model to do his job in context, as if he would learn in a live mode. Because this is a good principle, but how do you orchestrate indexation and models? This can be done also by an orchestration. An orchestration is not just like I have one thing to do. It's really the integration, technical integration challenge. In my workflow, I need to grab the news. I need to get the stock ticker price. I need to index some content. I need to send the content to a model. I need to send a message into Symfony. It's a lot. So that's why the orchestration, if you have to do that by code, not only is going to cost you a lot of time to implement, but to maintain. And you know that this is what we're going to see, but before I would like to talk also about the rise of prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is really to tell the model what he has to do. And what he has to do here will be do exactly what has been requested with the context I'm going to provide you. We're going to see the example. So the orchestration, this is what is said here, is designed for change. So when you build the orchestration, any change because of the business context doesn't put your application at risk. It's just, okay, I'm going to add a new task, or I'm going to update that task. No need to go back to the code or something like that. So it can be very fast. The scalability, I mean, you can imagine at Netflix what was the requirement for the scalability. And actually, when Netflix required to build the Netflix application, the new version of the Netflix application, our CTO, who is the creator of Conductor, Viren Baraya, said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to build the application without building a system. They said, no, you build the application. He said, I can't, I'm sorry. So they said, yeah, do it, but don't fail. No pressure. So they started very small, like we're going to take one type of orchestration, and then little by little, they added more and more features. Netflix is probably the company or the application that requires the most important content for the most important set of users. Right? Everyone is going to Netflix today. So that's with a product like Conductor, this is exactly what you have for free day one. Your application, before you start it, will be scalable at that level, as if you would be Netflix. It's important also in the scalability to manage and rate limits, because especially with some task that goes to OpenAI or things like that, you don't want to over-consume because it's going to cost you a fortune. So you want to rate that consumption. So what the orchestration will bring to retrieval augmented generation is to automate the indexing of the content into vector database to bring it to LLMs and have the result that will be in context. Let's see it in action now. Just the demo app that you're going to see will have the trader app that is made of an FDC3 container. You probably heard about that in some other sessions, or you may be familiar with the concept of FDC3, multiple applications that can communicate to each other and pass information in context. This is an open source FINOS project. There will be, you'll see a table, a chart. There will be a Symfony bot that is with the Symfony bot developer kit, built with the Symfony bot developer kit, which is another open source FINOS project. There will be an orchestration part with Netflix Conductor and Orkes as the platform. And of course, some AI and data task for getting the news and prices. We are using this example, Alpha Vantage. The vector database will be Wavy8, which is another open source, kind of equivalent of MongoDB for vector databases. And OpenAI models that you may know, like DaVinci and models like that. No code, just using those things. So let's switch to the demo. And yeah, this is the Trader app. So I have my list of tickers here. I can go and see on the chart one particular ticker, and I have my Symfony chat. So I have also, I'm going to log to Orkes. So I have my cluster with my conductor here. A cluster is really something you can create pretty easily. It can be on your cloud account, or it can be something that is hosted by Orkes. If it is hosted by Orkes, you pick which cloud provider you want, which cluster capacity, which will be automatically set based on the version of conductor you want, starter or standard, and that's it. And it's provision, and once you have that, you have your cluster. You can go deeply into what is it, see the status, if things are going well or not. You can really introspect everything on the conductor itself. If you go to the conductor UI, this is what is actually conductor, right? And for the sake of the demo, we did some integrations. We have an integration with Azure OpenAI for the models. As you can see here, this is OpenAI test that we are using on azure.com. And we have, so with all the models that you want, we use like GPT 3.5, we text DaVinci 0.3. Those are open source models that you can find on those by those providers. And and we have our Wavy8 DB. So Wavy8 DB, I can show you what is it. This is just a small cluster that I created here, and I can see the details. So it's my vector database, and what I have to do here is just an integration with that endpoint, and that's it, actually. I just have to do that. And I have a prompt. So I have a prompt that says what? That says use OpenAI text DaVinci 0.3 and answer the question based on the context provided below. This is the context. Only answer based on the context given below. If you don't know, then say, sorry, I don't know. If the answer contains ticker symbol, prefix each ticker with a $sign. That will transform it as a cache tag when it's going to be displayed in Symfony. And give the answer, of course, based on the question. So that's the prompt. That's the way you just engineering the way to use LLM into your application. So in order to index, I'm going to show you, to index we have 3 different workflows. We have index all the news, and then per industry, get the news from that industry. That will be a second one. And then for each news, index it into Wavy8 DB. So if I go to execution, and I say I want the execution that has been made today about market. So I have my market news. My market news, we did it yesterday, actually. we can see that, yeah, we prepared a kind of list of industries, and then we called a sub-workflow for the two industries that has been prepared. If we look at the second workflow, which is market news, get industry, we can see that he completed yesterday 2 of them for 2 different industries. If I take the first one, he retrieved all the news. So if I introspect that task, I can see what was the output of that task, and I see, oh, okay, so he got all of those news. And then he prepared the news as a document, and he executed a sub-workflow for, let's see the input. So he got like, if I go down, he got like 50 of them, 50 news per industry. I take one by randomly, and I can say that this is the document actually that has been created. So by doing this, if I go to my Waviate cluster that I can, query, I can say, show me what you have now in your database. And it can say all the text that I sent. Which is good by that is that compared to a MongoDB or Postgres or MySQL, the way to retrieve this information is not exactly to retrieve based on a particular word. It will use the similarity in order to get the result. So now that everything is indexed, how can I query? I can run another workflow, and that will be market news search. Market news search, let's see its definition. It's a little bit more complex. Market news search is getting search into my index in order to prepare the context, and then do a text complete from the model by giving the context that has been output and the output of the previous task. And then there is a switch that says there is a parameter, where do you want the result? If it is Symfony, what you're going to do is you're going to create a room, you're going to add members into that room, and you're going to send the message. That will be the result. And then we're going to see if there are tickers into that message. If there are tickers, we're going to call a sub-workflow that will get the price, that will create another message in Symfony and put the message as well. So to execute this, I have an example here. I'm going to say that I prepared. What is the third quarter report of JetBlue? Give associated tickers and URL. It's the namespace in use, so you can do your search based on a certain context, right? A certain domain, sorry. And I want the destination to be in Symfony. So if I run this workflow, I can see already what's going on, right? And I can see that he already gets this from the Waviate database. He put it as a context to the OpenAI model, and then he went to Symfony, he created the room. I can refresh right now to see more about the execution. And I can see everything. If I see create the room, what is the output is the room ID that has been created, right? Same if I see send a message, I will see the message ID. So I can reuse all those information executed by every task in subsequent tasks or workflows. So now if I go back to my trading application, I can see that I receive in my Symfony a new room called Market Data Alerts. I can click here, and it's going to say what? It's going to say JetBlue Airways with the ticker symbol. It's a financial instrument, so Symfony can put it this way, and I can have associated applications linked to that. He reported the third quarter. I'm not going to read everything, but the good thing is I have the URL of the news, so if I click on the news, I can see where it comes from, right? So this has been indexed actually. And he went also to Alpha Vantage to get the price, so I have all information about what I need, and I can dig into the details as a trader. That's the demo. I'm running late on time, so I'm going to stop here. But of course, if you have any questions, if you don't have time for questions, we have a booth in the expo, so please stop by, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you very much.